Shut up.
Use the given information to find the exact function value. Simplify your answer as much as possible and rationalize the denominator if necessary. We are given the problem cosine t equals negative square root of 5 over 5, and a piece of information that says sine of t is greater than 0, which means it will be positive. What we need to remember to solve this problem is the double angle identities. The first one being sine 2t equals 2 sine t cosine t. Cosine 2t equals cosine squared t minus sine squared t. And tan 2t equals 2 tan t over 1 minus tan squared t.
Pause.
Or it could be written sine 2t over cosine 2t. We are given cosine t, which equals negative square root of 5 over 5, which equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Now we'll help to draw a triangle. This side is the adjacent side. The top h is hypotenuse, and the bottom is the opposite side of the angle. And you're also going to need to know the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus 3b squared equals c squared. A in this case equals negative square root of 5, and h equals 5. So if you plug these in, you get negative square root of 5 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared, which equals 25, which gives you 5 plus b squared equals 25. Then when you subtract the 5's from both sides, you get b squared equals 20. Then to isolate the b, you can take the square root of both sides, and then you get b equals the square root of 20, which equals the opposite side.
So using the values we got from the Pythagorean theorem, we now know that the opposite is square root of 20 and the hypotenuse is 5. So sine of t would be the square root of 20 over 5. We also know that tangent of t is opposite over adjacent, which would be square root of 20 over negative square root of 5. So to work out that formula for a more concrete definition of what tan of t is, you simplify the square root of 20 to square root of 4 times square root of 5. You put that over negative square root of 5. From there, you can simplify square root of 4 to 2, and you can reduce both the square root of 5 in the numerator and denominator, which results in 2 over negative 1. Simplify that, and you have negative 2. An alternative method for finding tangent of t is that once you have simplified square root of 4 times square root of 5 over negative square root of 5, after that's been simplified to 2 times square root of 5 over negative 5, is you can multiply both the numerator and the denominator by negative square root of 5 to cancel out the denominator. This results in 2 times negative 5 over 5. If you simplify that, it becomes negative 10 over 5, which can be solved to be negative 2.
So now that we know what sine, cosine, and tangent are, we can find what sine 2, cosine 2, and tan 2 are. We'll start off with sine 2t. As stated in the intro, sine 2t is 2 times sine of t times cosine of t. In our case, sine of t was square root of 20 over 5, and cosine of t was given as negative square root of 5 over 5. Now we just do some multiplication. The square root of 20 times the square root of negative 5 becomes the negative square root of 100 over 25. We know that the square root of 100 is 10, so this turns into 2 times negative 10 over 25. This turns into negative 20 over 25, which when simplified becomes negative 4 over 5. Now on to cosine 2t. To find cosine 2t, we have to do cosine squared minus sine squared. Cosine is given to us as negative square root of 5 over 5. We square that, minus our sine, which was the square root of 20 over 5, squared. This turns into 5 over 25 minus 20 over 25, which then becomes negative 15 over 25 and simplifies to negative 3 over 5. Now, lastly, tangents. To find tangent 2t, we do 2 times tangent over 1 minus tangent squared. We found tangent to be negative 2, so we do 2 times negative 2 over 1 minus negative 2 squared. This becomes simply negative 4 over 1 minus 4, which turns into negative 4 over negative 3, and simplifies to a positive 4 over 3. I'm now going to show you a different way of finding tangent, and this stems from the fact that tangent itself is sine over cosine. So there's no reason that tangent 2t can't be sine 2t over cosine 2t. Using this new method that we have discovered, we can plug in sine 2t and cosine 2t to find tangent 2t. Our sine 2t was negative 4 over 5, and our cosine 2t was negative 3 over 5. This turns into negative 4 over 5 divided by negative 3 over 5. To divide fractions, you simply multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Since there is a 5 in both the numerator and the denominator, they cancel each other out. A negative multiplied by a negative becomes a positive, and it gives you the same answer, 4 or 3.
In summary, the double angle of sine is negative 4/5, the double angle of cosine is negative 3/5, and the double angle of tangent is 4/3.